Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm sharing another entry for the annual card design superstar contest by My Favorite Things, and this one is for the category Coloring Virtuoso. So I have decided that I'm going to do some Noline coloring using my distress inks because this is one of my coloring that I like the most. I'm not doing every card with Noline coloring because it's taking a lot of time and it's not easy if you want to make multiple cards or similar ones to do it all the way like this. But it's so relaxing coloring my images using my distress inks and do some sort of painting. And yeah, it's relaxing, it's calming. I love the end result, so this was what I wanted to do for this category. I don't know if you saw my other entry for the simple and clean category, but I shared it on Saturday, and I used the same stamp set. So actually I'm using this sort of contest to get some cards going with my newer stamp set. It's an older one from My Favorite Things, but at the time I had no budget to buy it. So I bought this Secret Santa stamp set last week, and I am so glad I finally did it because I just love these images. So I am doing Noline coloring, which means that I'm using my distress inks in this case, and therefore I'm using the Strathmore Bristol smooth paper. It can handle water, not that much, but I'm not using a lot of water to color all these images, so that's no issue. And I've stamped out my images using Antique Linen Distress ink. There are Noline coloring inks as well that are perfect to do this, but I prefer when I'm using distress inks to do Noline coloring. Then I prefer to also use distress inks to stamp my images out, but also just personal preference. And then you just need to take a lighter ink, which is in this case Antique Linen, and then I smoosh my inks that I wanted to use for the coloring down onto this mat, and then I can just take the ink, bring it to my images, and then drag it out using a damp paintbrush, and that's how I roll. So for the parts where I would love to have some white parts, I just use that Antique Linen again to create some depth. And that's how I continue to color everything in. After these two images, I'm also going to color in some packages. I didn't film everything because it's the same idea over and over, same colors over and over. So just to save some time, I decided to not film all the presents. But yeah, so the coloring for the rest of the images are completely the same, adding the ink with barely any water to the image, and then creating a damp paintbrush and just drag it out towards the rest of the image, and keep adding layers and layers until you're happy with the depth created, the shadows that you have, the colors, and that's how I do it. So really simple, nothing fancy. For some people it's a bit daunting, but I really want to encourage you to try this out. It's a wonderful technique. Just take your time and try it, and who knows, this might become one of your favorites. That would be really lovely. But yeah, I really love the end result you get when you do some Noline coloring. When I'm using my distress inks, it's also a cheaper ink, especially when you buy the smallest packs or the mini cubes of the distress inks, as I do. That's not expensive at all, and you can get wonderful results. So for the rest of the coloring, I will put on some music. It's quite a bit of coloring, so it's like 2/3 of this video is coloring. If you don't want to watch it, you can always skip this part, but otherwise I will see you back after all the coloring is done. So now onto the background. Therefore I chose this pattern paper from the Fun in the Sun paper pad from My Favorite Things, and I trimmed it to an A2 size panel and laid out my images the way I wanted it. And here I'm just lifting up those images, keeping them in place by using some purple tape, because that pile of presents, I mean, it's like you want to have a messy pile, but then again it needs to be wonderful for your card as well. So as soon as I sort of have a layout, I really need to adhere it in a quick way to each other so that I don't forget how I place everything. So that was my way. And then with the images being Noline coloring, I really wanted to use this pattern paper in a way that it's like an old story that was drawn inside of a notebook of someone, or just a piece of a story, a Christmas story of course. So that's why I'm using antique linen and vintage photo to really give it some sort of vintage look. And then I also wanted to have a few small splatters, but only really tiny splatters, so I'm taking a really small paintbrush and I just splattered it around, checked it, and did a few more. But I was checking all the time with the images, and I was so excited about these backgrounds. I wanted to use it. I asked and my family what they thought about it, and they were hesitant about this pattern paper, and I can get it. But with adding that antique linen and vintage photo, I really think that it worked out perfect. Then the sentiment, I am stamping it out at the place where you normally write your titles in your notebooks, or at least when I was in high school, I always had to write a title just aside of that red line, the margins, and yeah, it was how I had to do it. So I really wanted to have that feeling going on in this card. So now onto the adhering. So I am adding everything using some liquid glue, except for one present that I took away, and then the little girl. Those I am going to add with thin foam squares. But I'm keeping everything in place by keeping it at the back of that purple tape. And now I'm using a few acrylic blocks to really adhere everything. And then I can really slowly peel off that purple tape so that nothing is moving. Just taking my time for this. And then I will add some liquid glue there where the images are overhanging each other, just to make sure that everything will stay in place. And then I'm adding that one present and the little girl. I really love the dimension created by those thin foam squares. I just adore it. Those are really my favorite from Scrapbook Adhesives. So I'm adding my final images, and then I decided that I wanted to add some sequins, but I didn't want to take away from the old vintage feeling. So I decided to use some Itty Bitty Stars matte gold from Little Things from Lucy's cards, which is truly subtle, but still there are some stars there, and with the Christmas theme I think it's just perfect. I had to fiddle a bit, placing sequins, as a lot of card makers think, is just a pain. It doesn't happen a lot to me when I just know where to place them immediately, so I played around with them, and afterwards I adhered it using some liquid glue again. And then this whole panel is finished, and I just have to glue it onto a card base. So I hope that you enjoyed the coloring if you watched it, and of course that you like this end result, as this is one of the cards I am entering with. So yeah, I truly adored making this card. I am in love with the stamp set. I love doing Noline coloring, so I had so much fun creating this card. And I hope that if you are joining the contest as well, that you are also enjoying all the categories that are given and just playing around with your craft supplies. If you have any questions, you can always leave them down below and I will answer them as quick as possible. I hope that you have a wonderful day and I will see you next time again. Bye!